Greg, the FBI already processing 100+ leads, and now they're also going to have to deal with comments from the presumptive candidates for president. We'll see scripted ones later on, but they've both already been talking. Is this throwing spanners into the FBI's investigation?
No, I think the FBI can probably manage to keep its investigation pretty clear. I think the FBI's biggest problem right now is answering the question of what happened when they questioned the suspect Omar Mateen twice, once in 2013, once in 2014, and really found no grounds to hold him, once because of a complaint from coworkers that he was talking about sort of terrorism and terrorist ties, a second time because they believed he had some connections to a suicide bomber in Syria, and both times the FBI concluded they just simply didn't have the evidence to hold him. And what the FBI has told us since then is they also don't really have the resources to track people, even once they've sort of come to their attention. So we are expecting to hear from the FBI later today, possibly as early as noontime, to kind of explain to us how Mr. Mateen kind of slipped through their grasp.
Yeah, but how does something like this move forward? Because what kind of legislation can be put in place to deter something like this from happening short of more gun control?
Right, and I mean that's what the FBI Director James Comey has told us many times, that stopping these so-called lone wolf terrorists is one of the hardest jobs for his agency to do. As you can imagine, these are folks that are solitary individuals. They can read stuff online, they can communicate possibly with people overseas, and then at some point that no one can ever predict, they sort of break and they go ahead and do these things that like this horrible thing that happened in Orlando. So it really is the proverbial needle in a haystack. And look, it's the United States. We have laws about due process and when you can hold someone and when you can't. And in this case, the FBI is saying, they followed all the rules. They tried very hard to figure out if this was a person they needed to pay attention to, and concluded they really couldn't hold him. So it is one of the more tricky parts of that job.
Craig, a war of words has already ensued between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. What tone and what message will both candidates want to get across when they speak later?
I mean, I think we've already had a pretty good preview of their comments today from their comments yesterday. Hillary Clinton, I'll start with Donald Trump. He actually talked about, he actually called on Obama to resign because he failed to use the words radical Islam in his statement that he gave yesterday afternoon from the White House. He suggested that Clinton should resign as well because she hadn't used that term either. Hillary Clinton has, talked about the dangers of radical Islam, but she is saying, look, this is not a time for partisanship. This is a time for statesmanship, where we need to really come together as a country, Democrats, Republicans, left, right, and figure out how to solve this problem, figure out how to prevent incidents like this from happening in the future. So I think what you're going to see today is Hillary Clinton trying to look like the steady leader, former Secretary of State, of course, a person who can, sort of keep things under control. Trump is obviously trying to use this to point out that he thinks Obama and Clinton have steered the country wrong and aren't doing enough to crack down on these possible lone wolf terrorists. So it's going to be quite a day in the political world.